Hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for another story here at Annie Narrates. The title for this one goes like this. Ex cheats on me and leaves me with my son for her affair partner, but now she's back after 10 years, blaming me for everything that happened, and I don't understand why, until my ex-father-in-law comes forward and tells me that it's all for the $1 million inheritance he's leaving me behind instead of her. My ex-wife has made a sudden reappearance in my life after almost a decade of being divorced and was insistent on giving our relationship another try. I couldn't understand why and nearly turned my wonderful life upside down because of her without even understanding why she was back. Turns out, it's nothing but a ploy to steal our son's rightful inheritance, which my father-in-law is leaving with me till he comes of age. So this one is a bit of a mess. I hope you guys bear with me. Let me give you some background first. I, 35 male, met my ex Erin when I was in college. She was the popular girl and actually dated the captain of the varsity basketball team. I met her through my roommate who was friends with her boyfriend and instantly had a crush on her, but never thought that I would have a chance because she was just drop dead gorgeous and I was kind of a dork in college. I didn't do anything about my crush and accepted the fact that nothing would ever happen. We did become friends though, because we often hung out together because of my roommate and her dating the varsity guy. Around the last semester of our course, Erin broke up with that guy. At that point, we were fairly good friends, and I thought that maybe I had a chance with her. I waited for a couple of weeks after the breakup because I thought that was the right thing to do, and asked her if she wanted to go out with me for dinner. I was a nervous mess and almost expected her to laugh at the idea, but surprisingly she agreed to go out with me. The date went really nice and we followed it with more dates, and it was overall great. I couldn't believe my luck. I was finally with the beautiful popular girl and I felt like I was on the top of the world. We didn't really talk about the future much because we were just about to graduate, and so it felt best to just keep things casual. I got a great job straight out of college, and Erin decided to join her mom's firm. Her mom owns a consultancy business, so our careers were on a good path. We had been dating for around 3 months, and although it wasn't all rosy, I liked her a lot and was thinking of getting serious. She insists on keeping things low-key though, so I just went along with it. Fast forward a bit, Erin and I were in a steady relationship for about a year. We enjoyed each other's company and life seemed promising. I could see this relationship actually going somewhere and felt really lucky. However, things took an unexpected turn when Erin got a job offer in another city. It was a fantastic opportunity and we discussed the possibility of a long-distance relationship. I knew it would be difficult, of course, but we both had well-paying, steady jobs, and my job is pretty flexible, and I knew it would be possible for me to see her every other weekend. I suggested giving it a try long distance for a bit, and then maybe I could try getting a job where Erin was, because her job paid better than mine, and I had absolutely no problems moving to where she was. I thought this was a good idea. To my surprise, Erin seemed hesitant about committing to that level. Despite my willingness to make it work, she said that she doesn't believe in long distance and would hate for our relationship to end on bad terms after staying together for so long, and that we should end things. I was really upset and tried my best to convince her to stay, but she wouldn't. I eventually gave up and we decided to go on one last trip together as a couple to our favorite trek and then go our separate ways. Now, that's where things went wrong. We went on the trip, had a great time, and within 2 weeks, Erin had moved out of our apartment and shifted to her new work city. I was devastated, but accepted things the way they were. I mean, what else could I do anyway? We stayed connected on social media, but never spoke to each other, and I was just starting to move on and considering getting back into dating. All that came crashing down when 2 months later, I got a call from Erin asking if we could meet, since she was in town and had something important to tell me. I was quite nervous but agreed. I spent the whole day being a nervous mess, wondering what she could tell me. We agreed to meet in my apartment. The moment I saw her, I knew something was wrong. I knew that expression. We sat down in the kitchen while I finished cooking dinner and made awkward small talk. We started our meal and I just couldn't take it anymore and asked her why she was here. She looked incredibly nervous and said that she was pregnant, and she was certain that it was mine. I was shocked. Nothing really prepared you for hearing that kind of news. We have always been careful, and she was on the pill, so this was really unexpected. She said she didn't know where we went wrong, but she was pregnant and wanted to keep the baby. I had no doubts in my mind regarding that. If there was a baby, I would 100% be there and be a good father. But since we had broken up at the time, I didn't know how to deal with the relationship and this baby. Well, Erin had that sorted as well. She said that it was not the ideal way, but her family was really conservative and we had to get married before the baby was born. For context, Erin is an expat from another country, and in her culture, having kids out of wedlock is a huge taboo. It was apparently bad enough that she was getting married to someone out of her culture, but being an unmarried mom was like the worst thing possible. Erin always had plans to go back to her home country eventually, so it wasn't really an option for her to be cut off from her family. Now, don't get me wrong, I really liked Erin at that point. You might even say I was starting to fall in love with her before the whole problem with the long distance and breaking up happened. But getting married was not something I had in mind for the near future, and that was a massive shock to me. I told her that I understood her situation and would be with her definitely, but marriage is something I just wasn't comfortable with at that point. She broke down crying and said that her parents would disown her if she had a baby out of wedlock, and she wouldn't be able to live like that. I felt stuck. I felt like I would be the worst person in the world if I just left her on her own like that. So I agreed to get married, kind of against my wishes. The shotgun wedding was a blur of nerves and forced smiles. It happened in her home country, and her family was generous enough to fly out my parents and the other members of my very small wedding party to their home. Erin's family wore masks of disapproval, barely hiding their disappointment in their proper daughter marrying beneath her station. Or so I felt. They barely knew about me while I was dating, and you can bet that they wouldn't have picked me as their future son-in-law in a million years. My parents, bless their souls, were supportive, but concerned about me rushing into such a life-altering commitment. Despite the tension, we went through the motions, exchanging vows, dancing in the reception and all. Our relationship had literally never been worse, and here we were getting married. It all felt like a nightmare really, but a tiny spark of hope flickered within me. Maybe we could make this work after all, for the baby's sake. The wedding itself was pretty small because it was held in Erin's hometown, and she was starting to show, so mostly family and close. We moved into a cute starter home. Erin quit her job to focus on her pregnancy, and her parents actually helped out a lot with the expenses. Starting from the house, Erin's prenatal care, and also getting all the basic necessities for our baby. Erin's parents were a godsend. I always knew that they were well off, but it was only after the marriage I found out exactly how rich they were. For context, her family had been big-time industrialists for generations and a pretty big deal in their home state. A few months after the wedding, our son Liam arrived healthy and adorable, the only bright spot in this whirlwind marriage. Erin tried her best to be a good mother, and I did everything I could to support her. She had a difficult pregnancy and had to take time off from work, and I had to work 2 jobs to support our family. She said that her parents would give us money if we just asked, but I didn't feel right taking their money when I was perfectly capable of working and making my own money for my family. Erin wanted to get back to work as soon as possible. She loved her career, and having a kid at this stage obviously wasn't in our books, but that's life I guess. It took her a few months to recover, and then we had to make the call about moving. Erin's workplace was ready to take her back, but for that we had to move. I wasn't very happy about that, because now that she would be working, I could quit my second job and focus on building my own business like I had always wanted to. Also, we lived pretty close to my parents' place, which was great, because they could watch the baby anytime we wanted, because both my parents are retired and love nothing more than spending time with their only grandkid. This was another particularly rough patch in our relationship. We began to fight a lot. At first, it was just about the move, but they started escalating and we would snap at each other at the tiniest thing. Liam was a fussy baby, which just added to our problems. It's like nothing was going right in our relationship. After weeks of fighting, it was decided that Erin would move to where her office was and come home on the weekends. My parents agreed to watch the baby when I was at work, and we also agreed that I would take the baby and visit Erin as frequently as possible. Looking back now, it's clear that we were grasping at straws trying to save a relationship that had absolutely no love. We didn't even like each other, and if not for Liam, we would never be together in the first place. By the time Liam turned 2, I was seriously considering divorcing her. But I guess she had other plans. I had to go on a business trip. This was rare, and I was supposed to be gone for a week. Because my parents were also not in town that week, and there was no one to watch Liam. I was gone for 3 days and had to come back unexpectedly because the client backed out of the deal out of the blue. It was frustrating, and I was in a really bad mood. I didn't bother to let Erin know that I was coming back. I think you guys can already see where this is going, but I came home to another man opening the door to my own house. Erin wasn't even home. She had taken Liam out to the park. A lot of shouting was involved. Almost got into a physical fight with the guy, but controlled myself. He said that she had told him that we were separated. I didn't believe him, but I didn't care enough to put up a fight. I made him call her and asked her to come back and wait for him in the living room. The confrontation was more peaceful than I expected. She saw me and froze a bit. I told her to not bother with any lies and just to come clean. She had the decency to look ashamed. She said that she never wanted this life and missed working full time. She also said that she didn't love me and our life made her depressed. Apparently she was in love with the guy that she was sleeping with, and they were having an affair for nearly a year. I told her that she could have just told me instead of cheating. We talked about divorcing, and she flat out said that she wanted me to have full-time custody of Liam because she wanted to focus on her career, and it would be better if he stayed with me since my parents could look after him. She said that all she wanted was visitation rights and the freedom to take Liam to see her parents at least once a year, because Erin is also an only child like me, and Liam was the first and only grandchild in both families. She also begged me to not let her parents know that we were going to be divorced, because that would make them very upset, and they would force her to move back to her home country immediately. She said that she would never interfere with my life as long as I agreed to these 2 conditions. I was too disgusted to talk to her. She clearly cared more about her impression in front of her parents than she actually did about Liam, so I just agreed. My son is and always has been the light of my life, and I was more than happy to have him to myself. I knew that my parents would love that as well. The divorce was really quick. There was no drama. She didn't ask for alimony or anything, on the condition that I wouldn't ask her to pay for Liam's expenses. I agreed, because I just wanted to get rid of her from my life completely. The marriage ended as quickly as it began, and I was a single dad. Funny how things turned out to be. I had no contact with her parents anyway, so it didn't matter to me if they thought I was married to their daughter or not. So that has been my life for the past 10 years. Liam is now almost 13 and doesn't visit Erin's parents as much as he did when he was younger. He doesn't speak the language or understand their way of life, so he prefers it this way as well. He does visit his mom each month, and we have all just gotten used to things being this way. He's a great kid, and I feel so lucky and proud to have him as my son. I barely ever think of Erin now. I am in a steady relationship with an amazing woman I plan to marry. So her sudden reappearance was the last thing I ever expected. So what happened was, last month, I was relaxing at home after a very demanding work week. Liam was at a sleepover, and my girlfriend was out of town, so I had nothing to do. So I ordered a pizza and put on a movie. I heard the doorbell and woke up expecting pizza, but got the shock of my life when I saw Erin standing there. I couldn't believe my eyes. She never shows up unannounced. Most of the time she just sends the car to get Liam. If she ever comes to pick him up, she waits in the car outside the house. She hadn't entered the house since the divorce. I got my composure together and asked her what she was doing there, and if she was there for Liam, she could come back tomorrow. She said she wasn't here to talk about Liam and wanted to talk to me about something important. I was confused but also curious, so I let her in. She didn't waste any time once we were both sitting across from each other in the living room. At first, she was vague, saying stuff like we were too young when we had Liam, and jumping into a marriage was wrong and she wished her parents weren't so traditional. I couldn't understand why she was saying all this out of nowhere and after all this time. After some more reminiscing on her part, I just had enough and asked her what was the point of this conversation. What she said almost gave me a heart attack. She said that she wanted to give our marriage another chance and hoped that I would consider taking her back. I just stared at her in total shock, and she kept saying random stuff like how she's more mature now and understands that she should have been a better wife and mom. After that, she stopped and looked at me and asked me to say something. It took me a while to find the words to say something. When I finally got my composure, I first told her that I was in a loving, committed relationship. I then told her that she cheated on me and pretty much left me to be a single dad, and she was insane and needed help if she thought I would ever even date her again, let alone marry her. Her face went red. I don't think I've ever seen her so angry, and she just stormed off without saying something. I spent the rest of my night wondering if I had just imagined the whole thing. But for the next 3 months, she kept either calling, texting, or sometimes even showing up at my house, trying to say the same things. I couldn't block her because we still needed to communicate about Liam, but it was getting annoying and borderline strange how she was suddenly obsessed with me for no reason after nearly a decade. Not to mention it made things in my relationship unnecessarily difficult. I couldn't understand how until yesterday. I think I mentioned that I haven't been in touch with Erin's parents. We never got close, and after the divorce, we had no reason to talk. So imagine my surprise when 2 men showed up to my work yesterday and one of them introduced the other as Erin's dad. It has been literally ages since I saw him, and I didn't recognize him. Also, I forgot to mention this, but neither of Erin's parents speak English. The guy with my ex-father-in-law introduced himself as his lawyer and was our translator for the conversation. What they told me has pretty much changed my life. Apparently, Erin had been lying to her parents about our divorce. Till very recently, they thought we were still married and were sending Erin money each month to take care of Liam and basically help us out. Around 6 months ago, Erin's family lawyer had some business in the States. The man's a close friend of the family, almost like an uncle to Erin. So my ex-father-in-law told him to check up on Erin by surprising her with gifts from her home country when he's here. He had the address of the place Erin was living in, and when he went there, he found her living with another guy, and Liam was nowhere to be seen. It didn't take long for the lies to unravel. Erin's dad flew here literally the very next day, and he was absolutely furious and threatened to cut her off, but she somehow convinced him to give her time, saying that she would get remarried to me. He had enough of waiting, I guess, and 3 months ago, told her that he was leaving me and Liam a huge inheritance and giving her nothing. So that's what set her off and made her desperate enough to come after me. Erin found out that her father met me and showed up to my door again in tears, begging me to consider her again. I refused, and then she said that I should give her the inheritance once I get it because it was never mine in the first place. Honestly, I don't care about the money. I'm super grateful for the amount of money Liam will be receiving because it will give him an incredible head start in life when he's an adult, but I personally don't want any of my ex-father-in-law's money. I'm not rich by any means, but I work hard and have a good life that thankfully allows me to provide for my son, and I am happy with that. But I don't want to give Erin the money either. Honestly, it blows my mind that she has been lying to her own parents for so long. Also, call me petty, but I will never forgive her for cheating. The fact that she has been enjoying the money that was meant for Liam for all these years disgusts me. Erin says that I'm stealing her family's money. My girlfriend says that I should take the money because it'll help us give Liam a better life. I guess that's right, and it's the only reason I'm even considering it. Am I the a-hole for possibly accepting my father-in-law's money? Hey everyone, this was my first Reddit post, and I didn't expect it to be read by so many people. My notifications are insane. I apologize for not making it clear in my post, but the amount of money left to Liam and me comes up to roughly $1 million US. Most of it is for Liam, and he'll get it once he's 18, but the rest is for me. In Erin's culture, it is extremely common for parents to financially support their kids well into adulthood. Erin is also a single child, and her parents, as you can probably tell, are massively wealthy. They want to leave this amount to us and donate the rest of it to charity, as far as I have been told. My ex-father-in-law's main concern is that Erin shouldn't see a single penny of their money ever again. The only reason I'm getting any money is because Liam is living under my roof. I guess they see it as the same thing as giving Erin a monthly allowance for their grandkids' education and expenses. Some of you asked how they never found out about the divorce because Liam could have told them. As I've mentioned, they don't speak English, and Liam only speaks English. He only visited them with his mom and they never stayed long, so I don't think it was very difficult for her to hide it. So it's been a couple of weeks since the big revelation, and I have decided to take the money. I mean, Liam was obviously still getting his inheritance anyway. There was no question about that, but I've also agreed to take my share. I'm gonna spend it on his education, send him to a better school, and take him on more vacations every year. He's a great kid and deserves the best in life. I'll try to spend as little of this money as I can and will give any remaining money to him when he turns 18. Saving on his expenses will also help me put more money towards my retirement fund and any emergency expenses, and that sure as heck doesn't hurt. Liam doesn't know the full truth about what has happened yet. I've basically just told him that his grandparents are going to be visiting more now. The kid's a little confused, but is already warming up to them. I've also gotten a language tutor for him, so he can teach him Korean so he can communicate with his grandparents and have a relationship with them. I'll try my best to encourage that. Okay guys, this will be my last update. A lot of people said that Liam deserves to know the truth, and I'm wrong for not telling him. I want to make it clear that I agree and I'll definitely tell him. I just think that he's too young for this information. Once he's older and mature enough to understand, I'll come clear about everything. As for Erin, she still hasn't given up on bothering me, but I know she'll give up eventually. I mean, she has to, right? So, that's all of it, I guess. That was it for today's story. Thank you very much for listening. Smash that like button and subscribe for more stories. Thanks again, and we'll be seeing you in the next one.